What's in it? What's in it? It's a Mickey in the box. Huh. Just kidding. I finally got my long-awaited drumroll Shapeoko CNC machine. You already knew that this is what's coming, and I absolutely love it. Let's set it up and cut our first project. So, follow me and lass
There's
uns
dirt on
anfangen.
my hands, strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand.
The machine arrived in two large boxes. Everything is nicely organized and labeled, so even the most beginner hobbyists with no experience with CNC machines will have no issues with the setup. I like to open up all the boxes first to have a look at all the parts to get familiar with them. And then it was time to tackle the instructions. A little stretching and let's go. Shapeoko 5 manual. Let's get straight to the good part. The first step of the assembly. And here's that workbench from the last video where we'll assemble the machine onto. It's exactly 61 by 61 inches. It's about an inch more on each side than actually needed, but I did want a little bit of an overhang. I've only set up a few parts and it already looks like a full-hub CNC machine. Now instructions ask for a second person to make sure the axis does not tip over, but you know how that goes. I usually don't have a second person and I like to build things myself. So if you do so, just be careful, because damaging any of the parts before you even get to run the machine would be the worst. The instructions are written pretty good, but if you do get stuck with it, there's also an official video on YouTube of Kevin Barnett from Carbide 3D, where he sets up the machine and goes more in detail. I'm not gonna lie, there was a part later in the setup as I connected the wiring. I got a little stuck, but the video helped me figure it out. It was actually pretty simple, and I was really just overthinking it. I kind of just looked at the same amount of wires and the color of them, and if they matched, I stuck them together and hoped for the best. Isn't it funny how I can do basic wiring of a shed with no issues, but once I'm asked to plug in some wiring of a machine that is clearly marked and has instruction with it, I feel kind of intimidated. Do you ever feel like that? It definitely felt like an achievement after I plugged in the wires and it all looked like it matched up. For now, let's just enjoy the rest of the build and watch me screw in over 100 screws, by hand, because the instruction asked me to do this. After figuring out the wiring attachment, the grounding block, and sticking in the grounding cable, it was time to tackle the router situation. And not just did I upgrade from a Shapeoko 3 XXL to a Shapeoko 5 Pro, I also upgraded my router to a 65mm spindle. It's more powerful and much quieter than a router, so not only my neighbors will thank me, but also my ears. It's a plug-and-play system that runs on 110 volt, which was important to me since I don't have a 220 volt outlet in my workshop. And by the way, if you do use a spindle instead of a router, you don't have to open up those plastic chains like I did. The cable actually fits through. Yeah, my bad, that was silly. And the router is set up. It was just that simple. It only took me a few hours, and that was mainly because I had to screw in a bunch of screws by hand. But in the end, it's all worth it. Remembering back, the first Shippyoko I had took me forever to set up. Carbide 3D has come a long way and made the process much simpler with so many great upgrades. I purchased my first Shapeoko in 2019. Fun fact, ever since I've had a Shapeoko, I've been calling it Shapeoko. I've never noticed until recently that I've been pronouncing it wrong all along, but I guess that's something I do. Now, one thing that I will never get tired of is the excitement of the first use of a new tool that I put together myself. It's a great feeling, and I can't wait for all the projects that I will come up with in the future. I want to push the machine to its limits, if it has any. For now, let's start with a simple project to make sure the machine works like intended, and that will make my workbench much prettier. I need some drawer pulls so I can open up those drawers that I built, and I like to cut them out of walnut lumber. I also have a few other things in mind that I like to make to personalize my workbench, so let's get to it. I went into my design studio to quickly come up with a few designs that I like to cut out in addition to the drawer pulls. I think those will look great on my workbench. Such a difference! The machine cuts the hard walnut lumber accurate and with minimal noise. It's so beautiful to watch. I'm in love. The drawer pulls will need a quick sand before I attach them to the drawers. Also, I recommend to apply the finish before you attach them, but I just couldn't wait and did it in reverse. It's very important to pre-drill here because the walnut will split otherwise. For the finish, I'm using a layer of my MeikeMade Mousse Magus wood butter. This will do great for the handles and it's super simple to apply. Just rub it in, let it dry for a bit, and then buff off any of the excess. For the rest of the design, I cut the letters out of particle board and then dipped them in sanding sealer. I let that dry for about 30 minutes and then went and painted them. I'm using mainly acrylic paint, however I did have some spray paint left that I wanted to use. I did have my garage door open for ventilation, however I would recommend using a respirator if using spray paint. Once the paint had dried, I glued the pieces onto my workbench using glue. Getting them straight is probably the hardest part about this. To make it simpler, you could just use some cardboard and cut out the outline of the letters with a laser machine. So you have a template of where the letters will go. But that's an extra step, and I'm too lazy to do this, so I rather struggle through the effort of trying to make those letters straight. Good enough, will do. And we're fertig. What do you think? Do you like the look of it? What project would you like me to create while using my CNC machine in the future? If you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel. Also, if you haven't done so, please click the bell button to get notified of new videos. If you can, please join my Patreon. This helps me create more YouTube videos. Thank you so much and see you next Friday. Tschüss und auf Wiedersehen.